Welcome to another Natural Grocers Nutrition Education presentation.
Hello, I'm Janine with Natural Grocers, and we are pleased to present Chef Chase Elliott. Chef Chase has 20 years of experience working in kitchens. He has worked in many different environments, including retirement communities and fine dining, but he specializes in local, smaller restaurants. Chase has been the head chef at Just Be Kitchen for 4 years. Just Be Kitchen was founded and is owned by Jennifer Peters. He also has worked at Avery Brewing as a smoker and was executive sous chef at the Chautauqua Dining Hall. Chase has now been a Colorado local for 6 years and loves everything about this beautiful state. Welcome, Chase.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a cooking class that has been held by Natural Grocers, and I am Chase Elliott. I work at Just Be Kitchen. It's in downtown Denver. We are 100% gluten, grain, refined sugar, corn, soy, dairy, and legume free. We have a Whole30 menu that is approved by the association. We are a Whole30 partner. We are the only Whole30 restaurant that's headquartered in Denver, and I'm here to show you a little bit about how to cook Whole30. We have a 100% dedicated Whole30 menu in our restaurant, in which you can order on site or online, and I'm going to go through today a version of broccoli and chicken fettuccine with you. Today we're going to be using spaghetti squash as a substitute for the fettuccine. I have here some olive oil, some salt, some garlic. We have some coconut milk. There's chicken and broccoli, and we're going to piece all of this together and make a lovely dish that is a great substitute for an old classic. So let's dive right in. I have here my nice sharp knife. You'll need one for these spaghetti squash. They are quite dense and kind of hard to get through sometimes. So we're going to start off by cutting both ends off. Slice right through there, and on the other side as well. We're going to take this and cut it right down the middle. So we'll split it open. And from here, we're going to have the insides that we need to take out. So I'm just going to grab a knife and I'm going to pull all of these seeds and everything out of the center of it. And once we have that done, we can just throw that to the side. Make sure to get everything out of there. The body of the squash is what we're going to be using for the pasta itself. All right, one, and then we get the other one done. Again, we're just going to pull all of this out of there, get it scraped through. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of olive oil just to help facilitate the heat transfer as we're cooking these through. So I'm going to put a tiny little bit, just about a half a tablespoon of olive oil in each one of these. And then I'm going to take a little bit of salt, just a tiny pinch. And we're going to throw this in our casserole dish here, and we're going to throw it face down. And we're going to cook those in our oven at 350 degrees, and we're going to let those go for about 45 minutes to an hour. You want to base this just on what size these are. These are fairly small ones, so this is probably going to be closer to 45 minutes. If you need to have extra time, go right ahead. You want to make sure that these are nice and soft when they come out. You'll be looking for a little bit of brown on the outside of them. That'll kind of give you a hint that it's starting to cook all the way through. So we'll throw this in now. All right, and we just need to get rid of this squash. And we can start on some of the prep for the rest of the dish while the squash is cooking. So we're going to start here. We have our broccoli. So I've got a small head of broccoli. We're going to be using all of that because I want to have a lot of nice green vegetables in this pasta. But I'm just going to take all of these tips off here. Now, most of these are going to be pretty small and they're going to be bite-sized like these. So we're going to take those to the side. Go ahead and throw them in our bowl here. And then some of the larger pieces that are a little bit too big, we're just going to break those apart. You can take the top of the floret and just kind of pull it apart where the stems are. Just takes a second. And we're going to get those into nice bite-sized pieces. So once we have that done, we have those ready to go for our pasta. I'll set that aside. And our next ingredient is going to be our garlic. I have 3 cloves of garlic here. These are going to give me about a tablespoon and a half, and most people are going to chop the garlic into smaller pieces. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to slice the garlic a little bit. So I'm just going to take my knife and run it through. And the reason that I'm doing this method for the garlic is because I want to have more surface area when I'm actually cooking the garlic. This is going to help pull the oils out of it, and it's going to give you the flavor. When we're actually eating, because this is going to get cooked well enough. This is going to be one of the first things that we throw in to the pasta dish itself. So I've got that sliced up. And the last thing that we need to prep is going to be our chicken. So I've got a medium-sized breast here. It's about a 5-ounce breast. And this meal is going to feed 2 people pretty easily. 3 people if you're small eaters. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just making a couple cuts and I'm cutting this breast into strips. And I'm going to take that and then slice the opposite direction. And we're going to make some cubes. And there we are. So I'm just going to throw this right back on the plate. And we're all set there. So now we have everything prepped up. We have our broccoli, we have our chicken, we have our garlic, and then we have our spaghetti squash in the oven right now. So we're going to let the spaghetti squash finish up, and then we're going to come right back and start making our pasta. All right, so that's now been about 45 minutes. I'm going to check the spaghetti squash. We're going to pull that out of the oven real quick. So as you can see, these have started to brown up pretty well on the outside. They're going to be pretty soft to the touch from the skin. I'm going to set that over here for now. And we'll let that cool off for just a bit before we start pulling the spaghetti squash from the inside of it. So our spaghetti squash is cooled. I can now handle it pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fork and I'm just going to run it over this spaghetti squash, the top of it. And what you're going to do is you can pull all of the squash all the way down to the skin on the outside of it. We're going to pull that through. And it actually comes out really easily as long as you've cooked it well enough. And again, you want to make sure that you have the squash cooked to the point that they are soft to the touch on the outside. You want to be able to just kind of put your finger on it and almost have it start going through the skin. We're going to pull that through. And then we can toss the skin to the side. We're going to use both of these. So again, just use the prongs of the fork. We're going to pull this straight through. And it should come off pretty easily. This can just fall right down here into a pile. And we're going to have that ready to go for our pasta. Now, when you're doing this one, be sure you don't get any pieces of the skin. That's going to be a very unpleasant bite if you have the skin in there. We'll pull out any of the pieces that are a little bit tougher. All right, and now we get to start making the pasta. So we'll start off. I'm going to turn this burner on real quick. And I'm going to put this onto a medium-high heat. I'm going to let that warm up for just a second. And we're going to have our olive oil. I'm going to throw about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil into the pan. And what we'll do is we'll start off cooking off our chicken. We want to make sure that's got a nice sear all the way around it. And then we're going to start adding some of the other ingredients. The garlic will be next. We want to have that cook in the oil and really just kind of release all the aromas, allow the oils from the garlic to infuse with the coconut milk that we be using as our Alfredo sauce. So this is getting fairly warm already. You can tell from the way the oil rolls around in the pan, it should roll around pretty smoothly. It's going to look pretty viscous. You want it to have a nice light roll all the way through. And now I'm going to go ahead and throw the chicken in here. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to spread these pieces of chicken out a little bit. And then we're just going to let it go for a minute. One of the things about cooking chicken in a pan like this is you want to make sure that you let it sit for a little while. The oil is going to be cooking the chicken from underneath. You want to make sure that you actually get a good sear on this whole thing so that you don't have pieces of chicken sticking to the bottom of the pan. Once you get a good sear on there, you can give it a good stir around, and it'll be nice and easy to stir it as you're going through. And you won't have little shredded bits. You'll have the whole chunks of chicken still there. So I'm going to toss this around just a little bit. What we want to do is make sure we get a good sear all the way around the chicken. We're going to cook it about 3/4 of the way through, just in this phase, because the rest of it is not going to take very long. It'll be just a couple of minutes to get everything done. And these chicken pieces, I cut them in about 1/2 inch size cubes, which means it's not really going to take very long to get those finished up. So these are cooked about halfway now, so I just want to give those a couple more minutes. But what we'll do is go ahead and throw the garlic in there. So that's going to start releasing the oils. And we're going to have a nice aroma coming off of it almost immediately. And this garlic, I don't want it to start browning too much. That's why I threw it in later. If you throw it in at the very beginning when you have the chicken in there, it'll overcook and it'll start to burn. You want to make sure you don't have the garlic in there too early. And we do need to have time for that chicken to cook all the way. Once you start adding liquid, it'll start cooking a lot slower. So you want to make sure the chicken is cooked all the way through. All right, and we are about ready here. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and throw the broccoli in there. Now, we haven't steamed the broccoli. I haven't par cooked it in any way. So I'm going to throw it in with this real quick. And what we'll do is saute that for just a few minutes so that it's starting to cook a little bit and it's not going to be too bitey when we have our final product. We're just going to let that go. Now, while that's cooking, we can go ahead and get our spaghetti squash here. I have my coconut milk. The coconut milk that I'm using, this is a small 13.5-ounce can of coconut milk. You want to make sure you have a nice high-fat coconut milk. Obviously, the Natural Grocers brand is really good. It's got plenty of fat in there that I'm going to be able to reduce it and have the nice thick consistency that an Alfredo sauce would usually have. So we've got everything set in front of us and ready to go. And at this point, we can start building the rest of the dish. My broccoli is partially cooked already. I can see that it's starting to turn a nice bright green color. So at this point, we're going to be able to go ahead and throw our coconut milk in. Let that start reducing, and while the coconut milk is reducing, it's going to continue to cook that broccoli and the chicken the rest of the way. So I have that all done. I'm going to take about a half a tablespoon of salt, and I'm going to start there, and then we're going to taste it and see how we're doing. If we need to add a little bit more, that's perfect, no problem at all. Really, the addition of salt is going to be heavily dependent on your own taste buds, but we want to start with about a half a tablespoon, and from there we'll taste again once we have reduced the coconut milk, and we'll see if it needs any more. Now, I am also going to add a little bit of freshly cracked pepper. I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of the pepper. I don't want to have that too strong in there. All right, I'll give that a quick stir. Now, since our pan was nice and hot, it's already starting to simmer around the outside of the pan, which means it's reducing. And when you're reducing liquids like this, the only thing that actually evaporates is water. So this is basically just going to make a coconut milk concentrate. All of that fat is going to stay in there, and it's going to thicken up as we're heating it up and reducing the amount of water out of there. All right. Now we have that going. We are just about ready. So this is going to go for probably about 8 to 10 minutes. You can really just kind of judge how far you want to go on the reduction process based on how thick you want the sauce to be. You do want to let it go for, again, a minimum of 5 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to be really watery. It's not really going to coat everything, and you want to make sure that you have a nice coating of the sauce around all of your ingredients. This spaghetti squash, now that we've roasted it, it's not going to add a whole lot of liquid or water content to the pasta itself. So we can let that pretty much reduce to the point that we want to. And from there, we'll throw the pasta in, let that heat up. And as soon as the pasta is warm, we are ready to eat. All right, so at this point, our sauce is getting pretty close. It's nice and thick at this point. We're starting to get a nice little coat all the way around. It's still boiling all the way through the sauce. So I'm going to let this go for just another couple of minutes. But in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and taste this. I want to get a good sense of where the flavor is before we completely reduce it, just to see if I need to add some more salt or pepper. I started off with about a half of a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to add just a little bit more. This is just going to be a small pinch. And that will pretty much do me. I can still taste the pepper that I added in at the very back end of it. It's giving me the nice bite in the back of the throat. So I'm happy with the amount of pepper that I have in there. Again, that was about a half of a teaspoon. So this is pretty much thick. Our salt has worked its way through. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the pasta in. And I want to kind of sprinkle this around just to get it all the way through. And then we'll give it a nice little stir. And so at this point, we have plenty of sauce in here to completely cover all of our spaghetti squash, all of the broccoli, all of the chicken. And we are getting very close to being done here. Again, this is a really easy, very fast take on a classic dish that doesn't take very long at all. The spaghetti squash, if you want to stay ahead and you want to start doing some meal prep, you can always cook that off a day or two in advance. You can have that ready, have your chicken cut, You can even pre-cook your chicken if you want to. I would usually just bake it and slice it from there. And now we are in good shape. We have our final product here. I'm going to give it a little toss. And that comes together really nicely. And we have broccoli and chicken fettuccine. Obviously, have some for yourself. Fill that bowl up. And there we are. So again, just to recap, what we did here, we have one small spaghetti squash, which will be enough for 2 people. I had about a 4-ounce chicken breast. We did about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt. I had 3 garlic cloves. We had 1 small head of broccoli, and we had a 13.5-ounce can of coconut milk. And then I did a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Pull all that together and you're ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef Chase.
Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more virtual classes from Natural Grocers. Are you looking for personalized nutrition advice to support your unique health goals? Please visit naturalgrocers.com/virtual-coaching to book a free one-on-one nutritional health coaching session with your nutritional health coach today.